AEW Talent are reportedly questioning Tony Khan's booking. A big New Japan versus AEW match is reportedly not planned for AEW TV, and we've got the reason why Roman Reigns chose certain stars for a long-term WWE storyline. Stay tuned for all the deets. So we're kicking things off with the news that some AEW talent are reportedly not very happy with Tony Khan's booking. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter has reported that despite being in such a major angle at the pay-per-view, William Regal is seemingly set to leave All Elite Wrestling and return to WWE, which has been the talk of the entire fandom of wrestling.
I mean, it's been a crazy week, hasn't it? I mean, I never thought that this year could get any crazier. We kicked off with Cody Rhodes jumping ship, and now we're ending with William Regal potentially jumping ship.
And then jumping ship again.
Yeah.
So this was something that was apparently known by key decision makers in AEW when the main event finish was put together. That decision hasn't gone down well, apparently, with AEW Talent, and Meltzer reported a lot of wrestlers have questioned putting such a spotlight on Regal when he was set to leave the company. Other ideas were pitched for the main event of Full Gear, including one that would have seen Regal featured less. All ideas would have led to MJF as champion, with Regal out of the company and Bryan Danielson set up as the next major challenger for the AEW Championship. So I kind of get it, because, you know, if you know somebody has their foot halfway out the door, why are you gonna sort of put them on that podium, right? To then have them disappear and go, where's he gone? But at the same time, I kind of see from the side of it, it's William Regal. It's William Regal. The guy is just full of piss and vinegar, and nobody can sort of do what he does like him, right?
Exactly. The whole logic behind that booking is we've got this incredible man.
Yeah.
And we need to use every little minute we can with him. Yeah,
and you know, it's sort of any reaction, I guess, that he generates is always a very strong reaction. It's a very strong response. So you want that engagement, but you got to see both sides of the coin on it, I guess. And I understand that you'll have a lot of people looking at it going like, well, what? Like, that could have been somebody else's featured time, or it could have gone a slightly different way. But if all of the results would have wound up with the same outcome, then again, it's sort of you've got to pick a side of the fence. But I'm sort of sat firmly in the middle going, well, yeah, but leaning more toward the Regal side going, but it is William Regal.
I mean, I think...
And it might just be because I love William Regal.
I think that's it. Like, for me, I do like the booking around the Full Gear main event. I think me and Ross sat here right before Full Gear and we're discussing it, and we were saying it's very predictable that Regal's going to turn on Moxley and he's going to slide the brass knuckles in, and I was quite chuffed. We called it exactly.
It's what you want out of Regal.
Exactly.
That's what you want out of him. I used to hate that man. I used to hate him. Yeah. And it's sort of that. He can genuinely get that response out of you. So I'm all for doing it.
To quote Jack on our pitches videos, it's not what we think was going to happen. It's what we want to happen, and that is what we wanted to happen. We wanted William Regal to side with MJF and to do that little angle where he betrays Moxley. I think it's worked. It's got heat on MJF. It was a little bit awkward with him attacking Regal on Dynamite, because it's like, well, which one's a heel?
They've still got to write him off, don't they? And there could be any number of things that occur to write somebody the magnitude of William Regal off.
Just disappear on the way back to his home
it's not just going to be, the Poochie. It could be a horrendous beatdown of somebody who can't really fight back, isn't cleared to fight back. There's many different ways this could go. But I think that ultimately, if you get every last drop of it out of him, every last response you can out of him, then surely that just captures you a little bit more.
Plus, it gives Danielson a reason to want to destroy MJF. He beat up the guy who helped train him, and I'm all for it. Well done, Tony Khan. Yeah, well done.
Well, keeping it with AEW and contractual situations around AEW, we've got the reason why CM Punk is still signed with the company. This one again coming from the Wrestling Observer. They've reported that the Elite versus CM Punk, by all accounts, has very little chance of happening, with those close to the situation saying no chance.
No chance in hell.
Dave Meltzer also reports that as of this past weekend, CM Punk is still under contract with AEW and is being paid by the company, with those close to Punk saying that the holdup on him being released is all on the AEW side, as he's ready and willing to move on to his next project. And I'll believe it if it does or doesn't happen. I don't know what's happening anymore.
I can't wait for him to sit in the middle of the ring and go, 8 years ago, ago, I left sports entertainment, and today I am back.
Nothing happened in between.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see whatever his next project actually is, because as much as all this drama has been a bit chaotic,
if this is it, if Punk's done with wrestling for good, done. We saw him move into the world of acting momentarily.
Yeah, he did that Netflix film, the horror.
Yeah. He's done play-by-play for MMA, and I think he still continues to do so. He was on Fox Backstage, talking about wrestling. There's many different things I think he can lend those, especially the vocal talents, because the guy can just talk. He can just lend that to quite a lot. But I'd quite like to see him
still in wrestling.
But at the same time, I think I'd be quite curious to see him take on some more acting roles.
Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. He is, regardless of what you think of him, he is a talent, and he has still stuff to offer in wrestling. For me, anyway, I still want to see him. I'm not surprised though that AEW hasn't released him yet. He's injured. Yeah. That's got to be a legal minefield.
Imagine they're just like, well, you get your release in 9 months because you've been out for 9 months, whatever.
I really hope they don't wait for him and his wife to renew their vows, because that will be 2 times he gets fired on his wedding day. That wouldn't be good.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed we find out eventually what's going to happen with CM Punk.
Yeah.
Maybe some
stay with wrestling.
But keeping it with AEW, this is another report from The Observer, but despite some angles in the summer that hinted at a match between Osprey and Omega taking place in AEW, it seems that is not going to be the case. They're reporting that this was an angle that Omega and Osprey had worked on since the back and forth on Twitter began. They apparently pushed it hard when Osprey appeared on Dynamite, but then from the start, it's supposed to have been happening at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom. Tony Khan did approve the angle on AEW TV, but he has no plans for the match to take place in his company. And fair enough, I guess.
Fair enough, but why?
Yeah, I guess, if Osprey's being positioned, where he is, right at the very top of the New Japan card, do you really want to be treading on New Japan's toes so close to it happening? Maybe it's something I could definitely see happening down the road.
I think we'll see it happen post Wrestle Kingdom, maybe, but I can understand them not doing it for
But yeah, it's a match that a lot of people would tune in for if it was on weekly TV, and a lot of people would purchase pay-per-view for if it was built well enough, I think.
Yes,
because it's just sort of, again, it's those ties from Kenny Omega to New Japan. Osprey being, the cocky loudmouth that he is.
He's the new Omega in New Japan, isn't he? So
you want to kind of just put them together and see what's going to happen. But I don't think we're going to get it in AEW till maybe the back end.
Forbidden Door 2, if it happens next year, I feel that could be the natural main event there. It's either that, or if Omega's healthy still by that point, him versus Okada.
There's plenty of things you could do there, but I think potentially, you're right. Forbidden Door 2.
Forbidden Door 2, because there's so many names that you could chuck on there.
That, and you never know what's going to happen with the initial Wrestle Kingdom foray. If there's a contentious moment in the match, or a contentious finish, or there's something you can maybe just cling on to a little bit more, and then that's just going to stoke the flames even more for the return match, right?
Absolutely.
Well, going to New Japan. I still need coffee. Going over to the New Japan side of things right now. This one concerns Kota Ibushi. Now, Ibushi's been out of action since October 2021, but the Wrestling Observer has confirmed that he's been doing some light training in the ring recently, and that his shoulder injury has held up so far, healing. So that they also note that his New Japan contract expires at the end of January, and he's also been tweeting referencing the fact. Meltzer says that there's a lot of bad feelings over the past year, but nothing's definite regarding staying or leaving. And this sort of, for anybody who's sort of out the loop on the Ibushi situation, it stemmed from injury into overuse or underuse, and then company demands, and then it all was framed around a very big personal situation that was happening for Kota Ibushi at the time, that he felt the company were just disregarding the severity of for him, and so I can see him leaving.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him leave. I think we talked about it extensively when the first story came out about it, but Maybe moving to America would be the next step for him. There's so many other Japanese companies, but
well, he's a wandering spirit. You know, he's not somebody who's been tied down before. He's done things with DDT. He was one of the first people, sort of openly in the last big wrestling boom we had. You know, in the 2016 era onwards, he was one of the people really championing wrestling as an art form and his expression of himself. And you know, when you were seeing him out there in London streets with fireworks and just insanity. So he's somebody who I think that, you know, a company logo is just that. And there's loyalty, but at the same time, if the loyalty is not going two ways, then, you know, if he stays in wrestling, he's going to be one of the hottest agents out there. People are going to want him all over the world.
If he stays as freelancer and just goes wherever he wants, like, think of the dream matches in any company he could have.
Well, that's it. If he can just become a wanderer.
Him versus Danielson.
Oh, don't do this to me.
Triple H, give us him versus Nakamura.
He's going to have so many missed calls from WWE,
He will be.
Yeah, well, moving over to WWE now to close out the news for the day. This one concerns Survivor Series, Roman Reigns, and sort of everybody in and around the ongoing story, like everybody. So recent reports following Survivor Series highlighted the fact that Roman Reigns was reportedly angry following the conclusion of the main event. This came when it was it all stemmed from, was it like an open hand slap?
So there was a spot, Kevin Owens, it's not been confirmed, but they think it's the slap spot that it hit Reigns on the ear,
and there was apparently the report was it was an eardrum based injury, so potentially a perforated eardrum or something along those lines, led to a bit of a Barney and led to a bit of sort of falling out backstage. But the Wrestling Observer has followed this up by saying Reigns was upset, but it's not like they're changing any plans for booking or that he won't work with Owens or that there'll be any punishment or anything like that. He was mad because something happened that he felt with his character should not have happened, and also he got hurt. Following that, Meltzer has said that Roman Reigns actually handpicked Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to work with, and the idea is that he could have picked any two people on the roster to elevate, and those were the two people he picked. So, I mean,
high praise for those
High praise from the tribal chief.
Yeah.
He chose Sami Zayn due to how well the crowd took him for what was supposed to be a quick short-term storyline, with Owens taking the second spot because of their history, both with Reigns and Zayn, and because he can talk and is a great performer as well. I remember reading something as well. Apparently the backstage thing calmed down within like 20 minutes. But
yeah, so that's kind of what Meltzer addressed in the story as well. It calmed down within 20 minutes, and he was like, it calmed down, but he was still hurt. He was still a bit annoyed, but nothing is going to change.
It was one of those. I remember when we were in Japan, we talked to Hanare about just sort of weirder injuries, and he'd mentioned once perforating his eardrum, and I think it came from somebody like cup handing his ear, and he's like, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden you just hear like psh out of one side of your head, and you're now kind of having to try and upright yourself properly.
Kind of like half deaf.
And so it's sort of, you got to feel for anybody going through that, because I'd just be like,
Yeah, I would continue. Can we get a timeout?
Yeah, I'd be Sin Cara in that. Come on, please. But yeah, it's very high praise, but it's not entirely surprising. You know, Owens is somebody who's got that history with Reigns. Sami's somebody who the crowd just adore.
I can't believe how over he's got. Sami just this year has been the year of Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Like from, I think, WrestleMania 36.
Get the man in the Hall of Fame right now.
Yeah. Like going back to WrestleMania 36, there was like all the talk of he can't really wrestle anymore. Yeah. He's got a shoulder injury. This could be him just transferring over to managerial stuff. And now he's in the main event at War Games. He is.
It's like night and day, isn't it?
He's like, is he a face right now?
He's like anti-hero. They're all like anti-heroes
like
now
because of his.
But he's made them sort of all anti-heroes because of his vocal ability.
He's just far too oozy.
Yeah,
we love him. But I can't wait to see what he does going forward.
Well, that's it for your second slice of lovely bumper weekend wrestling news. We may be back with a third later if anything major breaks, but if not, have a wonderful weekend. And see you next week. Bye.